the Baal Shem Tov wanted to go to Israel. He wanted to meet with the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Atar. He wrote the popular commentary on the Torah, Rabbi Chaim Atar, and he wrote also very. The Baal Shem Tov said that this Rabbi Chaim ben Atar, the Or HaChaim, was holier than he was, and if they would meet together, then they could bring Mashiach. And therefore, he wanted to go to Israel. But he was told from heaven not to do it, that he wouldn't succeed. But nevertheless, he so much desperately wanted Mashiach. He thought that he had to have self-sacrifice. So he went to Egypt, he traveled from where he was in the Ukraine. He got on a boat, and in the middle of the way, the boat sank, and he was stranded in Turkey, Constantinople, wherever it was in Turkey. And to make things worse, he forgot all of his learning. Even Aleph Beis he forgot. He was stranded there with his daughter, Edel. And she gradually taught him, again, Aleph Beis and everything. He didn't remember anything. Amnesia. She took, Pesach was approaching, and they lost everything they had. They lost their clothes, they lost everything. And like I say, the Baal Shem Tov even lost his memory. So they were in a pretty bad straits. So she advertised that she would clean people's clothes. There was on the riverside, and there was rocks. I don't know exactly how they used to do it, but anyway, you could give people their clothes and they would clean them. So a very rich man went along the riverside where women were doing, and he yelled out, "Who is Jewish? Who is Jewish?" Whoever said they were Jewish, he said, "I'm inviting you to come to my house for Passover." He had a huge mansion. "Can I bring my father?" "Yes." So they came together. This rich man gave the Baal Shem Tov and his daughter a room, and that everybody should get ready for Passover. I guess he gave them clothes, gave them whatever they wanted. He was a tremendously rich person. The Seder night arrived. Everybody prayed the prayers. They all sat down at the table. There was 100 guests. And the rich man noticed that the Baal Shem Tov's chair was empty. He asked, where's your father? And she said, my father's in the room. He said, well, is he asleep? He said, I don't know. I don't think so. So the rich man wanted to go and see himself. What's going on? Meanwhile, the Baal Shem Tov had regained his memory. And this rich man opened up the door, knocked on the door, and thought, what's going on? I mean, I've invited these people to come for the dinner. Why isn't this person coming to the dinner? He's just taking advantage of the room. He can sleep afterwards. So he knocked on the door, no answer. He opened up the door. Maybe everything is saw. The Baal Shem Tov was sitting in a chair in the middle of the room, facing the door, and his face was looking like up at a corner, like at the corner of the ceiling. And his face was like inflamed with emotion, love. So it was to the degree that the rich man was very afraid. He became like surprised to the essence of his soul from the sight. He had never seen nothing like this before. He closed the door. He went back and said, okay, I'll do the Leil Seder without Baal Shem Tov. Meanwhile, the Baal Shem Tov, he started to pray the evening prayers, and his voice was so sweet that the rich man couldn't continue the Seder night. And he saw that everyone was just listening, to the point where everybody was finally gathered to the door, around the door of the Baal Shem Tov's room, just listening to his prayers. When the Baal Shem Tov finished, so he opened the door, he saw everyone was standing there. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt everyone. I was just praying. Come, let's do the Passover Seder. So they did the whole Passover Seder. When they come to the end of the Passover Seder, so they do what's called the big Hallel. And there they say, Kila Olam Chazdo. That God, and one of them is God does miracles alone. Ose Niflot Gedolot Levado. That God does miracles alone. Kila Olam Chazdo. Everyone says, but the Baal Shem Tov said this very loud, and he said it over and over again. Another time, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, 200 times. He just kept saying, Osa niflot gedolot levado, kilo olam chazdo. Osa niflot, and he said it slowly and beautifully. And everybody, no one was bored. Everybody was excited. They didn't know what they were excited about. They finished the Passover Seder very late at night. The next morning, early in the morning, they were praying. The man made a minyan. He had a minyan for prayer. He had a Sefer Torah in his house. And in the middle of the prayers, or just right in the beginning of the prayers, there came in a well-known person another rich person from the crowd, from the Jewish congregation there in Constantinople, Istanbul. It's the same city. And he came in and he said, pounded on the table, he said, I want to tell everyone a big miracle that just happened to me. No, they hadn't started really praying yet. And the man stood up on a chair and he said, I had the most amazing thing last night, the night of the Seder, last night. Said, I had the Seder, I had guests, and we're very enthusiastic, very happy. And all of a sudden I felt tired. I'd never done this before. I slept in the daytime. There was no reason for me to be tired. I felt tired. I just couldn't overcome my tiredness, exhaustion. So I asked everybody their forgiveness, and I said, I want to make a short break. I'll go to my room. I'll lay down. I told my wife to wake me up in another 15 minutes. I went and I laid down and I had a dream. This is what the man says. He broke into the Jewish man. He broke into the prayers, stand up and said, I want to tell everybody a big miracle. I went to a dream. I dreamt and I saw my father. My father told me that there's a big danger on all the Jews in Istanbul, that the king's chief advisor has convinced the king to drive all the Jewish people out, of Istanbul on the night of the Seder, that they're all in their homes and they have all their jewelry and on the tables, to drive them all out from there, take all their money. The king's chief advisor. So I said in my dream, what can I do? He said, you can save them all. And then suddenly I woke up. And I thought, that was weird. That was like my father. I thought it was just a dream, but I was still exhausted. I fell down to sleep. I'll sleep another 5 minutes. Then I'll go back to the Seder. But I had the same dream. My father came to me and he said, listen, open up the safe. And the safe has a false bottom to it. Pull the false bottom up. You'll see there's a little hole. Pull the false bottom up. You'll see that there's a piece of parchment. That parchment is a letter of thanks given to me by the previous king, the previous sultan, that I saved his life. But that's also a big story, which I'm not going to tell now. I saved his life. Take that parchment, go to the castle as fast as you can, and you're going to save the Jewish people. Get in to see the king's son. Show him that parchment, and you'll know what to do. So I woke up again. I was startled. I pried open went to the safe, opened it up. There it was. I never knew that there was a false bottom to the safe. I opened it up, and sure enough, there was the parchment. And sure enough, it was a letter of thanks from the previous king. And so I jumped on my horse, a forbidden thing to do, but just saving the Jewish people. Jumped on my horse. I ran. I drove to galloped to the king's castle, and the guards refused to let me in. And I asked them, I pleaded to them, and they said, no, they wouldn't let me. And the king's wife saw me from a window, and she came. I don't know why she came, but she came to the door and she asked, what's going on? And I said, I have a letter from your husband, a letter of thanks from your husband to my father. She said, oh, yes, you are whatever. She said my name. I said, that's right. I said, well, you're right. Your father did save my husband. Let me see the letter. The letter said, this is a letter of entrance, free entrance. I can come to the castle and speak to the king, to my son, whenever I want. Come. So I went and I spoke to, what does this man want? So I said to him, I understand you have a decree to kill all the Jews, to drive all the Jews out. He said, yes, I do. I said, well, the decree comes from your advisor, right? I said, yes, my advisor, Mustafa, my trusted advisor, he advised me to do it. I think it's a very good idea. All of a sudden, this idea came into my mind. I said, listen, if you go into Mustafa's room, you'll see that he's got idols there, and he worships idols. He doesn't worship the same one God we worship. Go, you'll see. He wants to drive out the Jews because he knows that we worship the same God as you do, and that he wants to do away with that. He wants to institute idolatry in your kingdom. I said, could it be? The king immediately sent out his special black guard, whatever it is, special forces, and they came back with the Mustafa's head on a plate. It was right. His room was filled with idols. He was bowing down to idols, giving thanks that his plan worked, and everything was saved. He said, that's the story I have to tell you, an amazing miracle. My father came and appeared to me. So the rich man who was in the house of the rich man, this minion, he said, what time was that? So they said the time. He said, oh, that was exactly the time when the Baal Shem Tov was saying, Ose niflot gadolot lavado, that God does big miracles alone, kila olam chazdo. That was exactly that same time. the fact that the Baal Shem Tov is shipwrecked and etc., that it was a terrible thing. It was only in order to save the Jews of Istanbul. And in the end, he realized that it was not possible for him to come to Israel. He didn't go. He went back to Baal Shem Tov. But that is how the whole entire congregation, thousands of Jews of Turkey, were saved by the Baal Shem Tov. Have a good day with Mashiach now. God willing, tomorrow we'll have a class, and I think that's what we'll do. We'll go over the class that I gave today. We'll go over it tomorrow.